Last time on the Just Create SMP, I created this incredible workshop. This workshop has all of the equipment that I need for bulk processing all of my items. And those items are all going to be living inside of the huge storage system that lives underneath this workshop, in all of these incredibly large Oh, jeez. There's always one, isn't there? But unfortunately, at this moment in time, this storage system is completely empty because I haven't transferred any of my items over to it yet. And I want to fix that today. And there's a couple of other things I want to fix. The first one being dealing with this package. Where are you supposed to go to? Basic stone. Okay. So basic stone. How did you get lost? Let's go and see if we can find basic stone. Oh, geez, I have no idea what the layout is in here. This is ridiculous. I'm going to assume it starts with wood there. So basic stone's got to be next to wood, right? That makes sense. Yes, basic stone. And your name is Store Stone. Yes, it says Basic Stone on here. How did you get addressed to base? What? So, oh, I know. So the address is on here. Look, Store Mob, Store Shiny, Store Create, Store Natural. Yeah. So this one must say, what an idiot. What an idiot. So we've got Basic Stone and Fancy Stone. So Basic Stone is just Store Stone 1. And Fancy Stone is Store Fancy Stone 1. So it's not Basic Stone at all. It's just stone. There we go. Store Basic Stone 1. Store Basic Stone 2. Very nice. So now if I just stick that back on the line, that's going to go whizzing off. And hopefully it's going to end up, yes, inside of a storage system. Wonderful. Well, that's that little package problem sorted, but it hasn't sorted my other problems, which are not so much problems, more of oversights in my building process. You see, I've had quite a few comments telling me that I've done a few things wrong. Well, not necessarily wrong, but not quite as optimally as I could have done. You see, these grindstones, for instance, need to spin in opposite directions to each other. And the way I've done that is to add a whole bunch of chain drive in that runs along the bottom to do the bottom row. And then along the top, I've just got a shaft going over there. But I didn't need to do that at all, because if we get rid of that shaft and that chain drive and just throw in a cog like that, I can do the top and the bottom ones, making them go in opposite directions. So I'm just going to switch all of this out very quickly, and then we'll move on to the next thing that I've done wrong. And there we go, that's one side sorted. Now to do the other side. And that's the other side done. Doesn't that look a whole bunch exactly the same as it did, and really hasn't saved me a great deal of resources. The other thing people said I should do is to make my haunting and smoking setup a little bit more lag efficient, i.e. not creating so many particles. Not that there are many particles being created from this, but I understand the issue, and apparently I can do that with blaze burners, but I'm not 100% sure, so I'm going to have to check this, because I've got a feeling this is one of those things that's from a Create mod add-on rather than actually in base Create, and we might not have that on our system, so we're going to find out. What we need is a blaze burner and a little bit of soul sand, which I need to go home to get that, because it's not here, mate. So heading back to my workshop for what's going to be probably one of the last times that I do it. Let's have a look in my storage system. Let's grab some soul sand, and let's see if there's any truth to this madness. So if I put that fan down there so that it's blowing, excellent, and put that in front of it, apparently that does the same as smoking, and you can see, I think it might. Yes, it sets me on fire. Wonderful. Well, that worked. And apparently if I then click this with some soul sand, yeah, that worked. Maybe it has to be soul soil, or maybe I need to like craft this in my crafting thing. No, maybe I'll try soul soil. See, that doesn't work. Is there anything in the ponder setup for this? No. And haunting just says to use soul fire on the image. So what if I put that in front of that? No. What if it sat on top of that? No. What if it sat on top of that? Possibly. No, I'm not getting the blue flames. You see, if it was working as a haunter and I go into it, I get blue flamed. Oh, well, I know I get darkness. So, yeah, we're looking for these little blue particles. According to Google, or at least the Google AI overview, if I do it with flint and steel, if I light the blaze burner with flint and steel, then I guess I don't think this is a thing, guys. I don't think you can turn these into haunted ones in base Create. We're going to just stick with the campfires, because 4 bits of particle smoke is not going to break the world. It's absolutely fine. Well, apparently I can't read. Because I don't want full blaze burners, I want empty ones, which can apparently be lit with a flint and steel, which is quite nice. I didn't know that, even though I've seen it a million times in people's builds. It's just never occurred to me you could do it. And apparently, once it's lit, if I then click it with some soul sand, it will turn blue. And now we can use those for haunting. But look, they also create particles. They might not look as big as particles from the campfires, but they are. They're just a different sprite texture, and the size of the sprite creating the particle has no impact on how laggy it is. But I'm sorry, campfires, you're all going. And that was basically the majority of the comments I got on this workshop. The only other thing people seem to have an interest in was my bulk crafting system, but before I make any changes to this, I want to see it in action actually working. But I can't really do that until we've actually sent my items into this system. And in order to do that, there's just a few more little things that I need to build. These things that are on here. But before I build those, I want to play a game. And I want to play that game with someone very special to me. Miss Beardstone! Miss Beardstone! Miss Beardstone!
Yeah, I'm down here, Foxy.
Miss Beardstone? Down here. Oh, there you are. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How's life? How's life? All good, I assume. Nothing particularly interesting going on in your life, I imagine. You've got plenty of time to be playing games with me, haven't you?
Oh, all the time. Yeah, all the time. It's taken me a while to build this bee shop because, well, people keep interrupting me.
I didn't steal any honey. I don't know what you're talking about. Right, let's go and play a game.
Oh, what? For the love of... I've already had Stam stealing honey.
No, he gave you apples.
Oh, right. You literally just outright stole it.
No, I gave you some of the honeyed apples you'd made from Stam's apples.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you. Thank you so kindly, I guess.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. I'm going to play a game. I want to play Starchery, Mr. Beardstone. I actually really want to play mini golf as well, but I understand you're probably a bit mini golfed out at this moment in time, so I'll have to find someone else to play with me at some point. But seeing though, I don't think you've played this one yet, have you?
I haven't, no.
And seeing though me and you are both expert level 99 at things like mini games and archery and stuff like that, we should be able to beat the leaderboard by miles. 28? Oh, jeez, that's rubbish. Maybe I'd be better at golf. So now I've just got to chip it over there. How hard could it be? What could possibly go wrong? Done. Yeah. I start again, Miss Beardstone.
That was always destruction.
Oh, it's done.
It sounds like you're crying.
I'm ready for the next hole.
Yep, next hole.
Come on! Oh, Miss Beast! I don't know what happened there. 105. And my time was nearly 40 minutes. Oh, jeez. How's Stam always really good at things? He's really good at Mario Kart. He's really good at golf.
He's young. He's got the reaction time.
I want my money back.
And the dexterity.
Surely no, I should have got these free anyway, since I made them.
Technically, you didn't. What you made was soggy cardboard. These are completely different things. This is a golf club.
Okay. There's nothing to do with soggy cardboard. So with that, you could have made these without the soggy cardboard, right? I want my money back. Well, those were a lot of fun, even though I wasn't particularly great at either of them. And if you want to see those in full, then let me know, and I might add the uncut versions of them to my second channel. But now is not the time for that. Now is the time to actually make these things, so I can finish off this workshop and bring all of my items here. So the first machine I need to make is a brass maker, and that shouldn't be too difficult. However, I do want to be able to make a substantial amount more brass that I'm currently able to make in my old workshop. Currently, the way that I make brass is to send some items over to this frog here. They come out of these different funnels and then they go into this mixer via this arm. And then what I have to do is manually add some fuel into this blaze burner in order to make it hot so that it can actually turn the things into brass. This isn't very good. Not only is it only a single basin, but I have to do it manually. And of course, that's not what we want in our new workshop, so let's go and come up with a way of doing that totally automagically and have actually more of it. And while we're at it, because it's basically the same system that we use for making andesite alloy, although that doesn't need heat, we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone here. Or 2 alloys with 1 machine. And I think we should start just like we have on all of our other machines, with an input like this. But then we don't need 8 lanes for making these things, that's a little bit ridiculous. But I would like more than 1. So because we're not going to be processing quite as much, we can actually get away with a smaller input on this thing. Let's just hook a frog up to that for a second. And we need 2 lots of different items coming out of here, split it into 2 lots of machines. And I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. So I might pop into a test world quickly. And I don't think we need anything more complicated than this. And I think I could probably make this even more compact if I wanted to. So let's see what's going on. Over here is our storage system, which contains our copper and our zinc that we're going to be using to make brass. And we're going to use a factory gauge to determine how much stuff we want sending over to our brass maker, which is this frog here. We have a little system here to fill up buckets of lava from our empty buckets from our infinite lava source. And that's because we don't have straws in our pack. We can't pump lava directly into these. We have to do it via buckets, which is exactly what this arm is for here. This arm will take the filled buckets from there, put them into the blaze burners, and then deposit the empty ones back in there so they can be recycled, as I will now demonstrate by throwing these empty buckets in there. There we go. And it is now no, you take it too fast, bro. Yeah, so when you do this, if you do it with just a depot, if the arm is fast enough, it will take the empty buckets before they've been filled and put them in there. And that's because I'm getting it to pick up and drop off from the same spot. However, if I was to put a belt here, we could have it only pick up from this spot here rather than there, which would mean it would stop taking from there. So maybe we'll implement that into our real one. But either way, it's going to fill up the blaze burners. They're going to get nice and hot. The other arm is going to take items from here and here. At the moment, I've got filters set for the copper and the zinc, so we get the different ones on the different ones, and it's going to deposit them into the basins. The mixers are then going to mix them, and we're only allowing brass to come out of those, and then that's going to go into here. Now, we don't actually need these funnels on here at all, because if we get rid of those, the basins will spin round, meaning that the brass can just come out straight onto the belts once it's finished and go into our little vault here. So let's see if it actually works. Let's just figure this out. What we want is to send loads through at a time so that we're not backing up the system. And we want to say that we want, I don't know, 5 stacks making. Now, this is actually going to make infinite stacks because we haven't got a storage thing on our other vault. But this is just going to give us a demonstration of what's happening. As you can see, the items are going into them all, they're getting distributed, and we are making more brass than we would do if we just had one machine doing it, which means we're now generating plenty of brass very quickly, and that's exactly what we want. And if we want this to work with other materials, we absolutely can do, just by setting filters on here for all of the materials we want to come out of each one. Like this one could be zinc and iron nuggets, and that one could be copper and andesite blocks, and that would allow it to do both brass and andesite alloy. So there we go, nice simple system. All I gotta do is build it in my workshop, and there we go. In minutes I have the machine set up inside of the workshop. It's a little bit more compact than the other one, but we're doing exactly the same thing. I've got my lava pipe going to my little lava network that is underneath the floor. I've got power coming up from underneath the floor, power and everything, and I've just split these arms up a little bit differently just to squeeze everything in a bit better. I of course still need to filter that for empty buckets, and now if I throw these empty buckets into there, they'll all go in, and that's going to start getting powered. And because I've moved this stuff about so that it's on a belt instead of directly underneath the spout, the arm's not going to take away any empty ones. However, apparently they transfer onto there, which means this one is now putting them inside of the basins because it's a moron. I didn't, oh jeez. I didn't think about that, did I? Okay, plan B. Let's, oh jeez. Break that block, put that there before lava comes out. Let's just jiggle this about a little bit. We clearly don't want that belt reaching all the way over there, so let's just break it a bit and just put a block there to stop that from happening. We'll put our spout vault there instead, with the spout on there instead. The funnel can then come out of there. This funnel for filling back in can go in there and actually get filtered. We need to remove this pipe here and instead have that coming down. I suppose it can still come over there. That's absolutely fine. It's not a problem. It keeps it nice and tidy. We'll bring that there, break that, put that pipe there to connect those things again, and we should be able to see that lava goes up there okay, which it is doing. And then of course this arm needs reconfiguring to actually pick up from the right places. We want to pick up from there, deposit into there, and also deposit into all of the blaze burners. And then when we put that back, it's not going to have any issues at all. Now we need to get rid of, oh geez, I've got so many buckets of lava now. Got plenty of spare buckets. I don't need all of these buckets of lava. We'll just throw those on the floor, let those despawn. What a waste. I got infinite amounts of iron and lava. It's not a waste. You should add a button onto the machine so you can turn it off and on. I don't need a button on the machine to turn it off and on because I've got infinite amounts of lava. There we go. Okay, that's going to work better now. Excellent. So now all I need to do is just filter these funnels for all of the different things we're going to pass through this, and that should be it. In terms of filtering, seeing so this old system is now surplus to requirements, I might as well just steal the filters from these to add to our new one rather than making new ones. And this has just got andesite, copper, and diorite in one, and in the other it's got cobble, zinc, and iron nuggets in the other. And that allows us to actually make andesite, should we ever need any, as well as the brass and the andesite alloy. But we do now have an infinite supply of andesite over at our new copper and zinc and everything factory, because as this processes, it actually makes way more andesite than we need. So one of these should, yeah, look, there's 20,000 andesite in there. So we're not going to need to make andesite, but just in case we do, we might as well have the option. So all I need to do is to come over here and just stick these filters onto those. And of course, there's no point in having 64 at a time coming out of each of those because we can only deal with 4 at a time. So we might as well just have 4 at a time coming out of each one of those. So now that's ready to go, but unfortunately we can't test it because I still haven't got any items in the system. But what I can do is tick those things off the list and see what's next. Barrel maker, vault maker. Well, that's just crafting, so I don't need those setting up at all. I just need to set up factory gauges for that. Golden carrot maker is just crafting. Electron tube maker, well, that's slightly different. Although with all the systems we've got in place, we can actually do that quite easily. Because in order to make electron tubes, we just need polished rose quartz and iron sheet. Iron sheet we're getting from the iron farm, so we don't need to worry about that. Polished rose quartz is just rose quartz, which we can sand down with our grinding system, so we don't need to worry about that. And actually making the rose quartz is just redstone and nether quartz. And I don't have either of those in quantity, so I don't think we need an automated system for that at all, because we can just set up that to go through the systems we've already got. So we can tick that one off, and that one, and that one, and that one, which leads us to track maker. That does need something different. In order to make track, what we need to do is we need to either use our iron nuggets or our zinc nuggets in order to deploy them onto some form of stone slab. Then they need pressing, and that creates our track. So we need a rotary system that takes in some form of stone slab and then turns that into train track. And of course, for that, we're actually going to need to make the slabs as well. So I think, why not designate, in fact, we need 2 similar rotary machines, this one as well. So we might as well just designate this very last chunk over here to that. And that's all of our chunks done with all of the machines needed. So first things first for our first machine, firstly, of course, would be the input vault, which our frog is going to be bringing stone. That stone can then immediately go onto a mechanical saw, which will turn the stone into stone slabs. That will then go through onto a belt with 2 deployers and a press on, and that will all then just go into another vault, which will then have another frog on it, sending all of those items out. That's relatively simple. The problematic part of this is we need to fill these with iron nuggets or zinc nuggets, and that's going to be tricky. Not necessarily in terms of getting them in there, but mainly in terms of how we set up factory gauges for that. Did I just see something going? There's a barrel on my back. Stop it. I catch it. Next time it comes, I get it. No, I miss. I get it this time when it comes. Yes. You see, what we really need to do is just use a single frog. So we could attach our input frog on this line here over to that. And we could send our iron nuggets and our stone into that, which is all going to go into there. And then we can filter just the stone to come out onto there. But then we need to get the iron nuggets into these bits. And the reason we need to use just one frog is because factory gauges are not all that smart. Let me go and demonstrate for you guys, because I'm a demonstraty sort of fellow. We know for each piece of track we need 1 slab and 2 iron nuggets. So on our factory gauges here, what we can do is we can make one that's got the track in it, link that to one with stone in, link that to one with iron nuggets in, and then just set that like that. That's absolutely fine. But of course, in order to make that, we can only have one address, which would be something like FNT Track Maker. And then what we would do is set how many items we wanted to be made. That would send the stuff to that track maker, and as long as we had the right ingredients, the track would be made. What we can't do is say, right, we want the stone to go to one thing, the iron nuggets to go to another thing, and then that makes the track. It just doesn't work like that. So we basically got 2 options in how to deal with this. The simplest way to deal with this would just be to keep sending infinite amounts of iron nuggets to these deployers, and then just put a system on there to say if we've got too many, don't send any more. That way, all we need to do is send stone to this frog, and the track will get made from however much stone we send. That's really simple. It's nice and easy. It's probably what I'm going to go with. Alternatively, if we did want to run the entire thing off just one factory gauge, we'd have to send the iron nuggets and the stone to that, and then somehow get the iron nuggets out of there and into there, and the stone onto the saw. And that's not what we're doing. What we're going to do is we're going to put chutes on there. We're going to put a vault on there. On top of the vault, we're going to need to stick a packager, and on top of that, we're going to need to stick a frog, and we'll call that FNT Track Maker Iron. On the side of that packager, we can then stick a factory gauge, and you see how that's gone blue rather than yellow, indicating that this is a new factory task. And what we can do is stick an iron nugget in there, and then we just need to set how many iron nuggets we want bringing into this, tell it this is the address, and that's just going to basically fill this with iron nuggets to how many we say we need in there. Now, in my experience, factory gauges stuck on the side of packages are a little bit unreliable, but it should work in the long run. I can't see any reason why it shouldn't, which means all we need to do to this system now is basically stick a funnel on there and add power to it, as well as a frog to get the items back out again once it's finished. So let's just hook that up to there, put that on only send packages, do the usual redstone link inverted with that and that on there, and then stick an address on it, stick a funnel on there, color all of the belt in, and now all we need is power. Now, if we spin these things round, we can connect those all together nice and easily. Now, it doesn't matter which direction we spin the shafts on those, so we can just stick a gearbox on there, join that together with our saw at the bottom to connect those together. The saw does need to be going in the right direction, but it needs to go in the opposite direction from the belt, so I'm going to use that trick you all told me in the comments that I already knew, but I never use because I just don't. I forget these things, and now that means the belt's going to go in the right direction. So all I've got to do to this is supply power to it, and we can do that by basically digging down, extending this chain drive down a little bit, and just hooking it up to our existing power just there. Now watch everything be going in the wrong direction. It is. Oh, wonderful. Of course it's going in the wrong direction. Easiest fix for that, come down here, get rid of that bit of shaft there, stick a gearbox on it just there. Lovely. Now everything should be going in the right direction. That should work. Can't see why it wouldn't. But again, I can't test it. And with that machine done, we only need one more machine, and that is a nice simple one. That is our precision mechanism making machine, which we've made loads of times. They're dead easy to make. So let's do this. As usual, we're going to start with our input vault and our input frog, of course. That's going to spit items out onto a belt like this. On top of that belt, we're going to have 3 deployers, and at the end, we can have our output vault. But of course, that's not how these things work, because precision mechanisms have the 3 deployers, but they need to go round 5 times, and there's a chance that your precision mechanism might not be turned into a precision mechanism. It might just be turned into some random salvage, which we'll need to deal with. So what we need to do, first of all, is create a loop for this thing. And that's as simple as just having another belt that's going the other way. And of course, we'll need a funnel at that point to take items out of that vault and put them onto the machine. And then we're going to need a funnel here to take items back and put them in there. Then we're going to need a brass funnel in order to take out the things that we don't want, then sending off to our storage system back onto here to go back round again, at which point we need another funnel there to then send the items into here. However, this andesite funnel is no good because we only want to be sending items that actually want to be, well, being turned into precision mechanisms coming along here. If we make some random salvage that can't be turned into that, we don't want it clogging up the system. So then at this point, what we can do is stick another shaft down here with a little bit of belt on it, and then we can have another funnel on there, which is going to take the random salvage that can't go through and then bring it over in this direction. If we make this vault a couple of volts long rather than 1 volt long, we can then put all of that random salvage into there. We can still have this set to only allow the things that are supposed to go back round again, and then we can use this frog to send everything else, including the random salvage, back to the system. Nice and easy. And there we go. With a little bit of jiggery pokery, that's all together and working. I haven't added any of the filters on yet for the items, and of course we're going to need to get the right items into these deployers. The other thing is we need to think about this packaging system here, because at the moment this frog could send out the half-made precision mechanisms rather than them going straight back round, which is not what we want at all. So I don't know why I said I was finished, because I'm clearly not. There's still a lot of work to do. For the precision mechanism part themselves, we're going to do exactly the same thing we did for the other one, but this time we're going to need to have a volt each, because each of the items is completely different. Small cogs, big cogs, and iron nuggets. So let's stick a volt on each one of these, and let's come round this side and stick a frog on each one of those, and then attach each of those frogs to this conveyor. Then all we need to do is stick the factory gauges on just like before, and just get these labeled up with the correct items nice and easily. So now all I need to do is resolve this problem, which is basically doubling up this vault so that we don't get the wrong things in the wrong places. So let's remove this frog and that, and of course the sign that was on there. We'll stick a new output vault on here. We can get this one connected to the output system. And now all we got to do is get the items out of there that we do want and into there. So we might as well just break a little bit of that. Probably bring this belt all the way down to here. Have a brass funnel on there that's going to be filtered for the finished precision mechanisms, and an andesite funnel on there to take the items into there. And then we just need another row of blocks there just to stop the items flying off the end in case that's full. So now I believe this system, apart from the filters, is finished. So let's work out what we're going to be putting on those filters. The thing is, random salvage doesn't tell me what that is. So what we need to do is actually make some precision mechanisms, or at least make parts of them. So let's head over to our existing machine, which is currently set up for making track. We don't need that anymore. Let's of course give this one some small cogs, this one some big cogs, this one some iron nuggets. And now what I want to do is turn that off, because I want to send through a couple of gold sheets so that we can hopefully get some incomplete precision mechanisms. And there we go, we've got a couple of incomplete ones, and I think that's all we need to set up those filters. Okay, back at this machine then, we want the finished mechanisms coming out of there and going into our output vault, but we do not want them coming out of here. This one, we want the scrap and the not scrap. Oh geez, wait a minute. No. We need filters. No. This is no good. I got no filters left because I run out of wool. I must have some filters somewhere. I'm going to steal them from my other workshop. So now I've got some filters. Let's do this more wisely. Let's delete everything that's already on there. This one, we're going to put not precision mechanisms. This one I'm going to delete and put not incomplete mechanisms. That one's now going to be not incomplete mechanisms, because we want any scrap and the finished mechanisms to come out of here and go into there. And this one over here needs to be not precision mechanisms, because they've finished. So we want the scrap and the other stuff to go that way. In fact, we don't actually need the scrap to come back again. The scrap can just go straight out of here and out of there. So this one really can just be incomplete precision mechanisms, which means we don't actually need this third row at all. This entire thing here is now no longer required, which means I can move all this about and make this substantially nicer, which I'm going to do right now. Well, that didn't take too long. The entire thing is done. All I've done is removed that third lane completely, wrapped a little bit of casing around here to make this look a little bit nicer, and I've just moved the belt on this bit so that it comes out sideways. The not incomplete precision mechanisms come out of there and will go into there, so all of the scrap and finished things will go into that vault there, and the incomplete precision mechanisms will come out of there and go back round again. At least that's the plan, and there's only one way to find out. let's get some scrap and some precision mechanisms. Now, I know gold sheet can be scrap. I also know cogs can be scrap. And of course, we've got some precision mechanisms and some incomplete ones. So if I was to throw on an incomplete precision mechanism on there and just get rid of these for a second to allow that to go through, that's going to go round and round and round, just like we want it to. If I was to put a complete one on there, however, it's not going to come back out. It's going to go into there, which it is. And if I was to throw some scrap onto there, that's also not going to come back round, and neither's that one. They should also be in there. They are. Amazing. So now I can put those deployers back on there and everything is good. Our machine is complete, and you know what that means. It means I can finally tick off everything off my list. All of these things are done. All of my main chunks in this workshop area have been filled in. We have machines to do everything we need to do. All that's left to do, and no, it's not bring my items into the storage system yet, is to set up a big old wall of factory gauges. Just like this one, for processing all of the things we need processing. How hard could that be? What could possibly go wrong? I'm not going to do it on camera because it will take me forever because the back of this is full as well. But what we do need to decide is where we're actually going to put this, because it wants to be somewhere central to our system where we can keep control of it all. So in the building that is on top of all of that sort of thing, we do have our input and output systems here and some rather large walls which we could quite easily stick on our factory gauge system on. And I think that makes sense to have this room as the control room where it all happens. So I'm going to do that. And then, do you know what? Actually thinking about this, it makes a lot more sense to get my items in here first, and then I can actually test things are working as I'm doing it. And if that's the case, then I really need to tidy my pockets. Tidy your pockets? Yeah, I need to tidy my pockets, mate. My pockets full of junk, as usual. Always carrying far too much stuff. I've got all sorts of junk in here as well. Throw that in there. And I guess we could tidy this little space up as well, but no! I'm procrastinating. Shut up. It's time to move my items finally. But wait, peeps, before we move my items, we've got to think about a couple of things. See, for a long time on this series, I've been teasing having a monorail. A monorail that would run around the side of my island, taking things from all of the factories that I haven't built yet and putting them into the storage system. But there's a couple of things that we need to consider. Some cold, hard facts. Some hard to swallow pills, as you might say. But unfortunately, that's all going to have to wait for the next episode. So I'll see you then.